Welcome back. Yep, I've now completed all of those sections. So that's those two, and obviously the original bigger one. And we've got obviously sections that can fit on top now. And right, excuse me. These obviously locate themselves in the castle. And then for the first main section, we have two together, and for the other smaller tower, we only have the one section together. Pretty much getting there now in terms of the actual build. So I'm going to put those off to one side. Return to the castle. Now, you notice that I had these four that I found on a different sprue from earlier. I think these four should have been four for up here. They look slightly different. So my advice would be, oops, sorry, let me just show you what I mean. Turn this round. The gate section has a small roof on it as well, and I think those four were designed for that gate section. They seem to be the correct size. So I now have only two sections where I do not have the correct size, sorry, the correct piece, but that is noticeably a different size. So for my model, I'm going to dispense with those. This is going to be a problem because this will not, oh, actually, look at that. They actually pull out. Okay. Two of those have come out without too much trouble. So they will go to those two missing sections over there. I'm just going to get a pair of pliers, see if I can hold that whilst, oops, there what I'm doing. I'm holding that top section because it's now glued. We're trying to pull those little sections out without breaking the sections. Now I don't need these. One, two. Okay, that's pretty good. What I've now got is the four from the sprue I should have retained originally. May go on there. Now, because I've got a bit of residual glue on there, what I'm going to do is do this. Just to make sure I can clean that up a bit. And then run the glue, so run the file through there to clear out the glue that's in there. Trying to support it as much as I can. Without breaking it. So just to repeat the guidance, there are four separate pieces that look like that I think are designed for this door, and they're certainly a nice fit. So we're going to put those on. Oops, helps if you remember to unscrew the top on the glue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now again, these little pieces are going to support the roof. So, oops. Want to make sure we glue them, but we can basically be a bit over the top with the glue, simply because we're going to come back and cover them over. Just to reiterate, two that I were missing is this side. Now we seem to have got two more left over. I can't honestly think of any that I've missed, but obviously I will put them to one side and just make sure that we've got them should they be needed. Here we go. So let's take these two, put them over there. So I've got a feeling these walls are going to be quite fiddly, because it's actually really hard to get these pieces directly aligned, and obviously we've got some sections to fit on. Now, one real advantage of where we are, cardboard, is that will naturally be a little bit more forgiving than perhaps the MDF would have been. Now, all of this to me, and I think this is the correct, the diagram, looks like you slot one side in and then we fold it over. Now there's obviously a middle section here, so I think you pay your money and takes your choice as to whether you glue that, you fold first or glue one side and then fold in situ. I think for my own benefit, if I had the time, I think I would glue first and then possibly rotate across. But actually looking at it, I think the best answer is to try and form a bend on this while we're going through. Now, I've got a slight edge to my workbench here. I say workbench, but this is just a piece of MDF that I'm using, obviously, to support the castle while I'm doing the modelling. And I'm going to see if that will give me a nice enough edge as I work that down there. It looks like it might be pre-cut actually, or pre-scored. I don't know if you can see that. So that's obviously got some advantages. I'm trying to go careful here because I think this is one of those areas where we could create ourselves a real problem pretty quickly. But again, it's cardboard, so if I had to replace the whole thing, it's not too much hassle. Okay, so we've kind of roughly shaped it there. I think you can see the overall effect. That's quite nice. It is going to be the devil's own job, I think, to get that fixed in there. But I think we need to be brave and just go for it. Now, you probably can't see, but there is no, this cardboard is only going to touch these top sections. So you do need to make sure that they're there and that they're in good nick, as it were, because otherwise there's no support for the cardboard. And I think this is an area of the model that you're going to have the most fun with in terms of testing your dexterity and your alignment in the first place. Again, there's nothing wrong with fitting some of the sections and coming back to it. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of assistance from something like a file. My supporting sections were glued about a week ago, so they are fairly strong. Also, just trying to work out whether a clamp at this point would be a good idea. Okay. You have to kind of feel as you're pressing to make sure that you've got the right alignment. That piece there is over, but for some reason it's stubbornly refusing to go down. So I've got a couple of small clamps that, if I can find them, I think would be ideal. Okay, this is the sort of clamp I was thinking about, what I call a thumb clamp, but I'm not sure. Okay, we've got one section here which is not playing the game. Don't really know why. I'll put a little bit more glue underneath over here. I think probably clamps on this would be a good idea. I'm not getting the same feel from the lugs being correctly aligned. Clearly they're in the right place. They're not sort of popping over, if that makes sense. So I think a couple of clamps, a couple of minutes, something similar to this would be all that you need. I'm going to see if I can find another one. Not ideal, but I've got this section here, this clamp here, which we're just going to make sure it sits on the actual very edge section. That's too tight. I think that's too much. I don't think that's any good to me at all. It's too big. Really need these. I've got a few of these lying around, but obviously can't find them at the moment. That would just be too convenient. So let's just make sure that that's over. That is over. That is over. It's all over on each side. Okay. We've got this section here to run down, but I think given that this is still drying, I'm just going to leave that section for a moment, come back to that one. We'll actually carry on with one sections around the front, principally this one here, where again we've got the same kind of arrangement. Just for completeness, there's a little tag on the back here which obviously will go into the rear section and touch that stone effect cardboard. What I'm going to do here is just endeavour to push this version over the lugs a little bit, just to try and give me a bit of extra connectivity when I do it. Now, not connectivity, but just to give me a little bit of pre-aligned things. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Just pop those off. Do exactly the same around here. Not so easy because I'm working back to front now. But I'm just going along and making sure that where there are lugs, they actually push through the cardboard. Just to make sure that we've got, say, a bit of a fighting chance of getting those over. Okay. And again, the same sort of principle. I'm going to come along here, just start running my finger along that edge and breaking that open like that. As I said, this was supposedly done much earlier in the build, but I do genuinely think that this is by far and away the right time to do it. Done the rest of the model. We've got, oops, I'm not concerned about having quite a lot of glue on this one at all. Yeah, I think it's exactly the right time to do it. We've got the rest of the model built. We can afford to take a little bit of extra time here. This has been given plenty of time to glue. So we've got a bit of strength in the actual supports. So I'm very happy to do it now. Do the fiddly bit now, as it were. Okay, that's gone over quite nicely. Right. So definitely recommend on this particular section pushing out the little nodules or the little cardboard holes first. It's definitely made it easier than that other section. So I probably could have done more. There you go. Oops. Okay, I've actually managed to tear that one through. So again, not overly worried by that because wood glue will deal with that very effectively. Okay, there we go. Given that this is quite awkward, I'm actually quite happy to tear those sections there just to get the right alignment. Come back and fix those a little bit later if we need to. I'm sure there's a more elegant way of doing this, but it's getting there. Excellent. Okay. As I said, I'm quite happy actually. I think benefit of hindsight to just put a little bit more stress on that. Be happy to take a little bit of extra out of the cardboard. Visually, it's not looking too bad apart from this little section here. There we go, that's better. Go. I think a lot of sins can be covered up with a bit of paint and a bit of glue. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm actually more pleased with that being tucked in than I thought I was going to be. I'm wondering whether I should do that with around that other section over there. It actually looks more like a wall section by tucking that right in. So it's not intuitive, and I'm going to show you on the other camera as well, but don't be put off. I think actually what you can see through two views is that I've really gone into making sure that that sits over, and I'm very happy with that. I know you may not feel quite the same, so feel free not to do this, but actually it's given me a much nicer feel to the actual join. I feel like I could have glued under here as well, and I think that's actually in the long run going to work out a little bit better. So let's come around here and take a look at this one. I think one of the major problems here is that we've got a tricky blend of trying to get everything aligned across multiple tags and get the right roll over the top, as it were, to join the other side. And that is not necessarily the world's easiest thing to do. As I say, I'm trying to push these out now. Okay. Okay. Right, so again, I've pushed a few of those through. I'm going to try and do fold up the middle. And this time around, not only do these, I'll do a little bit inside here just in case we catch the edge, because I'm happy with that, I think. On the outer edge. This top section, quite happy with that. So I think a key message here is alignment. I think your tags are going to have to be perfect, or you're going to have to take the view that I've taken, which is I'm happy to have them nestled on the inside, because I think in the long run, as I say, that's going to give me a better finish. There we go. So I can roll it a bit. I'm really not concerned at all about stretching over the top here. This one. Or tucking in there like that. I think in the long run, it's actually going to be better. There we go. Perfect. I've decided to do the same thing there. What I'll do is I'll come along a bit later with a pair of snips, and I'll take off any excess cardboard, and I'll make sure this is all glued. Section there that's a bit fraying out, so just show you what I mean. I'm just going to snip that guy off there, stick him off there. Now, I didn't glue under here, so I'm going to revisit my plan. Glue under here. possibly the messiest and least professional section at the moment. But there you go. It's back on here. So there's not too much that you can't cover up with a bit of prep work from a painting perspective and some careful painting. So we've got 2 wall sections remaining here, and we've also got the top section, which I'm guessing is this one. And these are really the only 3 pieces we have left. Oh, except for these, of course, our shutters, which we'll come back to shortly. So again, this one has to go on the outside here because it angles out this way. So a little bit of prep work, trying to line up the holes. Same the other side. These shorter runs, you know, you might find them a bit easier because, well, they're shorter and therefore it will probably be easier to have kept the supporting tags in the right line. But I just think that there's quite a lot of movement in the actual cardboard itself. There's the alignment of the tags to consider, all of which is going to mean that I think this is going to be tricky. I'm very happy to be gluing all the way along each edge, squeezing castle into that edge. Sorry, not castle. Squeezing onto that castle edge. Okay. I'm using my flat bladed file to help push over the edge. There we go. It's fine. We've got this little one here to do. It's fine. So you can see I'm not really being too delicate about this. I'm totally convinced that we'll be coming along a bit later, putting some fill around these edges, generally tidying this up and making it look nice. Okay, there's that one. So that top bit there, obviously, that side section there just about fits in, which is good. So again, the thing I would point out is that that's not actually equidistant. So you've got a smaller alignment there to there. So that smaller piece goes towards the door. Oops. Okay, there, there, there. Okay. So over there. Okay. So again, let's try and fold along that edge. Oops. You can see that section split already. Really not concerned by that at all, given what I'm doing. Before you think, oh, this guy's just ruined the castle at the last step, just wait until you've seen it painted before making that judgment. I'm convinced that this is going to look good and is in the long run going to be more durable and usable, therefore, as a terrain piece. Okay. There we go. When we come, oh, there's a door out. When we come back to that piece a bit later. So, excuse me. Let me get around the front here. Trying to block video. There we go. There's a bit of clippers there. Just to tuck all those pieces in the side. There we go. Okay. Let's just make sure we can locate this door back. There we go. Okay, so last remaining piece. Okay. Really. Just taking it off camera to obviously fold that again. Just to show a bit of alignment. This is one of those where I'm going to try and keep the general alignment a little bit neater. And as you can see, that's actually not too bad. That's going to look a bit better as a door. Sorry, as a roof to the door entrance. Again, to find those bugs. There we go. Make sure our doors are still working. There we go. Hold that firm. Okay. So, the last few pieces are to revisit the instructions for these tags here, which hopefully you can see, which are shutters around some of the windows. Oops, sorry, excuse me. Shutters around some of the windows. And on this piece here, you'll see perhaps a thin little line there. Oops, that we need to locate these pieces into. So I'm going to just move this to one side, put the pieces out. Workbench, again, these all seem to be the same size. We've got these sections up here as well. Yeah. And a little bit firmer. All those out. Okay, let's discard this sprue. And let's return to this instruction page. I left this because I really wanted to get the feel of the building first. But as you can see, all of these pieces now make a little bit more sense, because we have sort of shutter arrangement with a couple of different sizes in here. You may or may not be able to see from that picture, but obviously those pieces there are larger than those ones. So we need to bear that in mind. We have 4 of those sections at the moment. Numerous tags here. So we've got 4 of those and 7 of those. Now, 7 may seem a bit odd, but I think it's because we do not have a tag over some of the doors. In fact, you can see 1, 2, 3 door, no shutters. On these 2, we've got an arrangement of 2, 2, 2, 2. We've got 8, 11 in total, which goes with our 7 and 4, making 11. Now, I'm just going to turn this around so I can actually read it. What we need to decide is, do we want to fit the shutters that way round? Because interestingly, that's going to form in front of the window. So we are not going to see our window in that mode. Now, that doesn't break at all. That's not, well, does it? There's a slight indication that that might have been designed to have been split. So I think we need to decide, are we fitting these shutters shut, as it were, or open? Looking at the diagram, they remain firmly closed. In the first instance, what we need to do is get our base here and align the right shutters against the right window. So we have a downward one and an across one, and we have this sort of effect going on. Well, clearly that's the wrong size. So again, it's probably best at this point to separate out the pieces. So let's keep those 7 over there, those 4 over there. We have 2 different types of these. And one would assume that these pair up in a corresponding manner to the wooden shutter sections. So there's the 7, there's the 4. Again, slightly number of different sections below here. So that's definitely a different one, size-wise. It's not required. So just revisiting the sprue again that we just discarded. Doesn't appear to be any more that we can take out. The instructions imply, do say small there on one side. And again, it may sound stupid, but everything is on the outside. Judging from the pictures, this little curved bit goes on the bottom. So where we've got a section like that, for example, you can see that, but the curved bit shows as being at the bottom. Now I guess that's because at the top here we've got a flat section. That just needs popping through there. So I'm going to go around and fit those on anyway. I'm going to do a bit of preparatory work because there's a couple of little sections where there's an edge bit there. Take that off there. Just to give ourselves a bit more freedom. I think I'll fit the side bits first. Oops. Just because we're going to sit the upper frame on top, as it were. Let's just try this one. Put that on that window there. Oops, excuse me. That's good. Another one of these. Stick that on there. And then stick this final piece on top. Bit around the edges there. Okay. That creates, obviously, the frame for these smaller pieces to attach onto. Now, obviously to do that, as you can see from that angle, would create a blocked window effect. Again, personal choice. I think you could snap that with, you can see a slight scoring through there. So if you wanted to snap it, fit the shutters back, I think that's perfectly practical, perfectly possible. Again, I'm going to make a little decision on that after we've fitted some of these. So I'm just going to quickly file this section down. I don't believe any of those are different. And I can't currently conceive as to why this one here is slightly different, but I'm sure we will come back to that at some point. So, that's 3. Go. Don't know if it's obvious from the video, but there's a little bit of tagging, or sort of a bit of residue from where these were connected to the sprue, and I'm just really making sure that that's gone, both inside where the shuttle will go, and then on the outside where we're going to put it flush against the castle wall. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm thinking about shutters open or shutters closed, and I'm thinking maybe a couple of them closed and a couple of them open, just to show a bit of a mixed effect. Obviously, game wise, I don't think it's a problem either way, because you can just tell your opponent that the shutters are open and you're firing, or you're having them closed for additional protection. Oops. Pretty much the plan is, let's glue these pieces tonight, let the rest of the glue finish off, come in the morning, have a look at general state of play, whether we need to do any gluing, maybe trim off the edges of the walls, sorry, not the edge of the wall, but the tops of the walls, just to make sure that we're happy with those. Looking at it now, I don't necessarily think that we needed these sections on top of the walls. I think it would have looked just as nice without them, to be honest. So again, thoroughly recommend that you make your own mind up and never feel obliged to glue everything or put everything on just because it's there. It has to be what you want it to be. If you've got a better way of doing it, maybe with just a bit of, you could possibly even take some of that MDF link to the sprues, cut down yourselves and put 2 straight sections across the top. I mean, one of the joys of doing a model like this, or any model for that matter, is trying to give it your own personal touch, as well as taking advantage of what the designer's done in terms of putting the whole model together. But as I say, we'll let this finish drying overnight. We'll revisit everything in the morning and see what we want to do about painting. And I think that will be when we start the next video. So what I'm going to do is just go off camera, finish doing these bits, and then get ready to do some glue. Okay, welcome back. So we've now just quickly filed off all of these. Now, these are obviously the larger pieces. There's 3 smaller ones there. Let's rotate our working area. And again, just make sure we have the right tag size. Okay, yes we do. So these inner ones go onto these sort of narrower sections here. So let's pick these guys, and again, curve at the bottom please. So just to be clear, we're just putting those in those sections like this, rounded bit at the bottom, and just sticking it on that side, on that in there. Oops. Like that. So just get that bit of glue. Rounded piece at the bottom. And this is one of the wider tags because the notch, sorry, that little notch there is the size of this aperture. Oops. Just take that in there. And again, it forms a nice little sort of sill on top of the window. So now this side, the small side, see if we can bring that back into focus. This smaller side again uses the narrower of the 2 sections, but still the same size for these side pieces. Sorry, the same size for these side pieces. There we go. That's good. Use the narrow one. Tuck that in. Great stuff. Not on this door. Not on this doorway here. There is no opening at the top, so we've done 1, 2, 3. We're now going to move on to the same for this bottom piece. Difference here is that we have 2 on this side, 2 this side, 2 and 2. The 2 this side are the smaller pieces again. So we have 2 there, 2 there, which are our 4 smaller windows and our 4 smaller apertures. So just for completeness, I'm going to do those first, just to make sure that while I'm thinking about it, we get those done first. Sorry. Need to just put a little bit more glue on there. That's it. And this is one of those situations where perhaps having a window open one side and not on the other would make quite a nice effect. So entirely up to you. You want to approach this. Don't forget flat at the top, good at the bottom. Again, we're going to use these smaller pieces today, or sorry, in this particular section. Yep, 1. 2. Okay, while we're here, just double check they are the right size for there. They are. Yeah, oops. Yep. Again, side pieces first. While we'll continue to do these side pieces. So yeah, over here we've got 2 windows, or 2 apertures anyway, not really windows, which obviously with the shutters degree of just put a bit black glue there now, with the shutter effect mean that you've got protected sort of firing point. I think, maybe just experimenting with splitting one of them in a moment. We'll work out what the effect of that will look, or that, the actual overall effect of that would be. I quite like the idea that defenders would be taking the opportunity to make life awkward for the attacker. Finishing off these last few ones on this side. There we go. Okay, slightly to the side on these tags because obviously they're going to fit in there, and we want them to have glue in as many points as possible. There we go. So again, just double checking the top sections. We've got rid of all of the smaller sections now, as in the smaller shelving on top or cover on top. So yeah, is that fine? Make sure again it's located home. It's this front section to do now. So again, don't worry by too much about the glue showing through, that's fine. Bring that over there a bit. That's it. Tap that one in. Pop the shutter top on. Make sure it's pushed all the way home. And the final straight now, just these two side pieces and one top to finish. One. There we go. This one. I'm just doing that side line down there just to catch the top piece of the support struts. Push that home. There. Okay. So now we have to make a decision on these guys. I think to break them, we're going to need to support them. There we go. Now, obviously that's not gone super cleanly, so we'll get our little snippers down that edge, clipping off the excess. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Snapping like that only pulled the created a sort of slight recess on one side and a slight extra piece on the other. That's fine, you know. In terms of sticking those on, that'll make a good finish. So I'll flip it around in a minute so you can see what I'm about. But you can see there, look, shutters have been pulled. Oops, let me just show you again there. You can see there that I've put the shutters just on there to show you. Compare that to that effect. So I think the mixed view is the way to go. I'll just show you that on the other camera. Oops. If they will sit on for a minute. So just get another little shot that will blend in on the other camera. Oh, yeah, real time that dropped off. So as you can see, you get that sort of protected look versus the open look. And I'm going to glue those on just so that they stop falling off. Again, you want to consider some things like the painting of this. You know, are we going to paint? In which case, do we want to stick those on or not? Again, for expediency, I'm going to put them on anyway. And I'm going to rely on the paint running down the back to not create me too many problems. But you definitely can consider doing things a little bit differently. Again, here, we're just going to do that. It's not quite fitting that side. What's the problem? There. Okay. So, just going to put a bit of glue on this one. And there. Just have to work a little bit at aligning that one up. But you can see the effect that we've got going on. Oops. Glued those two open, glued that one shut. Oops. Glued those two open and took this one shut. Now, you know, again, it's a personal choice thing. I quite like the fact that they're different. So I'm going to split another couple, I think. We've just got to go careful to remember that I've got smaller ones. The smaller ones on the front, I think I'm going to be more inclined to leave solid. And I can tell you that you need to file these edges down a bit just to make them fit in. So I'm filing into that way to sort of slightly reduce the aperture. Just put a little blob inside, the outside, and then popping that in exactly the same way that I did the others. So I can just show you the camera. Oops. You can see it going in there. Sorry. Yeah, and it clipped in again. Clips in that way. There we go. So again, I think this one has something to do with the door, but we'll come back to that. So what I'm going to do now is quickly run round fitting these sections. I'm going to split at least one more, like that, from the excess with a combination of clipper and file. I'm going to do one of the little ones open, I think, as well. Yeah. And then, yeah, so I'm going to fill two more open. I think I'm going to put the majority of them closed. filled a couple of the windows open, and then come back and show you what the castle looks like in its currently finished but unpainted state. Okay, so I've now glued on those shutters, and I've gone, as I said, for a mixture of open and closed. Looking at the pieces, there's just a couple of pieces that we need to address. These belong to the door, as does this, I believe, that extra piece that we couldn't find. I'm just going to revisit the door, which was obviously part of the wall building. Apologies if you can hear the sound of papers being shuffled, but I'm just taking a quick look to see whether I can find that doorway section on any of the pieces of paper that I've got in front of me. I know we have seen it. Of course, the critical piece I dropped on the floor. Here we go. So I can see this section here where we've got the doorway, and hopefully you can see that sort of shows the lugs, these outer pieces fitting into the door. And then obviously optionally you've got the choice of putting a bracer across. They fit quite nicely in there, so I'm just going to move that to one side, move the paperwork to one side, sorry. Just put thin strip of glue down those, pop that in. Just make sure that's tight like that. As I said earlier, I put the larger piece in there. See if I can get that in there. There we go. I don't think I'll take the other one out. Don't need to. Just put a little bit of filing to use. Oops. And I'm not going to worry about bracer at this stage, I don't think. Okay, I'm going to take it out just so I can push that in and actually clear up some of this excess glue. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I think given the alignment, I'm not going to use that piece for the time being. I'll put that to one side. That's it, pretty much done. What I'll do at this point is I'll merge in the shot of the castle from the outside. So there we are. There's the general impression. We have this large section here, and we'll show in the video there. It's format, and we have this smaller section here. You can see it's beginning to really take shape. Probably the worst bit is this wallway that I'm not very happy with, but we will take a little look at that tomorrow. But yes, now it's being left overnight to dry. Okay, welcome back, and thanks for sticking with the build. You might be wondering what this these sort of scattered sections is all about. I think the last time we talked, we had walls here. I said I was happy with that overall effect and I'd be able to cover them up with a bit of paint and etc, etc. Thought about it this morning and thought, you know what, that's just not right. This is a samurai castle, a symbol of power, prestige. There's just no way that a daimyo or a local warlord would have let that, you know, impression of a sort of tardy wall or whatever last. So it's just completely out of character. Now, if I had the time again, I'd probably just leave these decorative pieces on and not bother to fit the side panels. Given that I've made a right mess, what I'm going to do is recover it. And what I'm going to do is use some grey board, so in other words some cardboard that you can buy in sort of handy little packs, not for a few pounds, recycled nowadays as well, which is quite obviously green. These are a sort of perfect substitute for the wall that I've managed to damage, but more than that, they're actually just really useful pieces of modelling anyway. For test on a bases, those three bases, sometimes you see the bottom bit is a large 2mm piece of MDF. Take that off, keep the top frame and stick these on, a bit like the futsal miniature ones that you buy now. So what I'm going to do is move the castle out of the way. Well, actually, first things first, it's important to notice that angle. We're going to need that a bit later on, so I am going to keep a few pieces and I am going to try and score to mark some lines in a similar way to the originals. But what I'm actually going to do is fit a straight piece like that and then a partner piece the other side. And I'm not going to try and fold them over. I'm going to take these clips off, file them to a natural angle and then stick to that angle. And I think overall that's going to give me a similar look to as the designer's intention, but without compromising in terms of the look. I think it's just going to look a lot smarter. So I'm just going to move this out of the way and come back in the video. And when we restart the video, we'll concentrate on putting together the grey board. Just clear our little work surface a little bit and pop that to one side. Okay, so what we've got to do is recreate panels that were approximately this wide, all around the castle surface. What I'm going to do is measure this grey board and I'm going to mark a line that's half the size. Now that piece there, that length, is more than enough for any of the single pieces that we need. So what I'm going to do initially is look at 1, 2, 3, 4 walls needing to be covered really. So we'll need 8 sections marked out. We'll come back and look at these shortly, but now I'm just going to grab some bits.